Well, Frédérique Giffard is a lawyer who represents 21 of those victims, and I'm very pleased to say that she joins me in the studio today. Thanks for your time today on France 24. First of all, how important was it for your clients to take the stand and to tell their story in court?
Well, I think it's been a long way to decide whether they would come or not, because obviously there were contradictory feelings that they had to struggle with. I think they thought that it was really a very important opportunity to actually speak, to be heard, to also join a collective movement of speaking. And so it was a hard way, but they will do it.
Yeah, and I imagine perhaps that's made a little harder because, as I mentioned, the sole surviving attacker, Salah Abdeslam, is in court as well. He's had a number of outbursts in the past couple of weeks. Has his presence in court upset victims, or are they quite happy to sort of direct their comments and their feelings towards him?
Well, I think it's a mixture. I think that it's obviously difficult to be there in the same space and with him, but they want to show that they can speak too, that they're not scared, and that their words have to be heard as well as his.
The trial is obviously going to run for a long time. We don't know yet what the outcome of the trial will be, but for your clients and for the hundreds of victims involved in this case, what does justice look like for them? What are they hoping for here?
Well, obviously they have various expectations because, there isn't one profile amongst victims. They're all very different. I think they don't expect much from the accused themselves. I think they're more maybe the most common expectation amongst all of them is a need to understand as much as possible, why they did that, how it could happen in Paris in 2015, how could young men do that, to do such terrible things to other young people. It's really the need to understand.
I wonder whether it may also be a sort of a cathartic process and sort of helping to process for people, because obviously these attacks were 6 years ago. They were hugely psychologically traumatic. Do you, from the clients that you represent, the people that you've been talking to, do they hope that this may act as a form of closure for them and it may help them psychologically?
A closure, I'm not sure, because, they have been very deeply changed by this ordeal. And I don't think that the trial will close anything, but it's certainly a very important step. Symbolic and more a step than a closure, really.
And if we could broaden it out a little bit beyond this court case, historic and important as it is, and talk to us about the sort of the support that these survivors have experienced in the past 6 years. Do people believe that the state has done enough, that there's been enough psychological support for them to help them process this really extraordinary trauma that they're living through even today?
Well, there has been a clear hiatus between what the state announced publicly and the so-called national solidarity that was meant to, be expressed in many ways. In fact, it was quite different on the way, especially with the Fonds de Garantie, which is the institution that is meant to compensate the victims. It has been more like a struggle than a team work. So that was a disappointment, I think, for some of the victims at least.
Some of them feel let down then?
Yes, I think for some of them it was a very bitter experience, and also because there has been so far, apart from the ceremonies, there hasn't been a public space to express collectively what it was to be a victim. 6 years have gone by, and some of them have felt, yes, very lonely. And this is now an occasion to maybe change that, because they can all come and speak, and they have to be heard, you know.
And to meet each other as well. Perhaps not all of these individuals, they may have gone through similar experiences in different parts of the city. Has this acted as a sort of social point for some of them as well?
Well, yes, you're right, because some of them had met through the victims' organizations, but some of them were very, very isolated. So, yes, I hope that for some of them at least it will work like that. I can see, it's only just begun, but I can see that for some of them it's soothing to meet other people sharing the same sufferings that they've been through all this time, silently.
Giffard, it's been a real pleasure. Thanks very much indeed for your time today on the programme. We were talking there about the victims of the Paris 2015 terror attacks.